Everyone. I'm happy to join Andy for today's Team Kentucky update. We're kicking today off with some good news. Anyone who has made a trip to the Capitol in the springtime can attest to how beautiful and cheerful it is around here when the iconic tulip bulbs decorate the grounds. Their bright colors bring feelings of joy and hope after a long winter. This past winter was especially difficult, not just because of the typical snow and ice, but because of the December tornadoes that brought devastation to so many of our Western Kentucky communities. While the beauty of the Capitol tulips is well known, fewer people know that it is a tradition for the First Lady to pick an organization to receive the tulip bulbs after they have been dug up. The thing about tulips is, if you treat them with the proper care and attention, they can bloom again. Andy and I are honored to donate this year's Capitol tulip bulbs to the communities in Western Kentucky that were impacted by the terrible storms. Our hope is that these tulips help bring some of the joy that so many visitors experience here at the Capitol, and that they serve as a sign of hope and renewal for our Western Kentucky families. We are working directly with local officials to distribute roughly 15,000 tulip bulbs for these counties to use as they see fit. I want to give special thanks to the Barren River, Green River, Pennyrile, and Purchase Area Development Districts who have been so helpful in transporting and distributing these tulips to their final destinations. I also want to thank our incredible landscaping team here at the Capitol, who not only make the tulip display so beautiful, but also help to ensure that those flowers take on special meaning by finding a new home each year. Thank you also to our local officials in Western Kentucky for your continued leadership as your communities recover. We are with you every step of the way. Next, across the nation and right here in Kentucky, people are coming together to recognize April as Month of the Military Child. This is a time to honor the sacrifices of military families to support our military-connected youth and recognize their unique experiences. Kentucky is the proud home of two crucial United States military installations with Fort Campbell and Fort Knox. Each serve thousands of students in active military families through their on-base school systems and provide kids in those communities with important resources through after-school opportunities and extracurricular activities, as well as wraparound services. Last week, I had the pleasure of visiting each of the 4 schools at Fort Knox with Stacy Davis, wife of Fort Knox Garrison Commander Major General Johnny Davis. We met with so many bright and incredible youth who shared their experiences with us. I got to talk to the students about the things they love about being a military kid, like getting to live in so many different places, pride in their their parents' work, and making friends from all over the country and world. And probably cupcakes didn't hurt either. But many of the things that they love about being a military child can also be the things that they find difficult, like having a parent who is deployed, missing birthdays, holidays, and one senior was talking about how hard it is that his dad will miss his graduation this year. And they also have to say goodbye to friends when it comes time to move again. Despite the hardships, one thing all these kids told me is that they loved and were grateful for the community in which they live. They were so impressive and courageous, and I left feeling very hopeful about our future with these amazing kids at the helm. I want to highlight and give thanks to the incredible teachers, caregivers, childcare workers, and youth service leaders who do so much to make sure these children are supported and encouraged to be the leaders on base, as well as wherever they may go next. Tomorrow, I will be heading to Fort Campbell to visit their schools as we continue to celebrate Month of the Military Child. So please remember, give your thanks to the military-connected youth in your life this month. To the military kids of Kentucky, we love you and we are so grateful for your service, and we are lucky to have you on our team. Finally, we are entering what is always such an exciting time in the Commonwealth as we look forward to the Kentucky Derby, the first Saturday of May. As Kentuckians, we know the Derby is special. This is a time when the entire world looks to us for the 2 most exciting minutes in sports. And there couldn't be a more perfect time to come together as Kentuckians to celebrate what unites us and what makes our home so amazing. Andy and I are excited to invite the public to join us here on the Capitol grounds for our Team Kentucky Derby Week kickoff. On Saturday, April 30th from noon to 5, the south lawn between the Capitol and the Annex buildings will be full of family-friendly activities and entertainment, such as Derby-themed crafts and games for kids, retail vendor booths featuring Kentucky artists, the Franklin County Farmers Market, food trucks, drinks from local brewers, as well as live music performances from 4 bands. We hope you'll join us next Saturday as we come together and celebrate so many things that make us uniquely Kentucky. Andy and I are looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Thank you to our First Lady for all 3 updates, but also reminding us, many of us, when we see those that have served, we thank them for their service, but we don't necessarily think about their families and the sacrifice they make, especially those kids. So today I'm happy to highlight several recent economic development announcements as we continue to build on last year's record investment, record new jobs, and certainly jobs of the future, and some of the largest companies in the United States picking us. This is how we're building a foundation for generations to come. To start, I'm pleased to welcome Augusta Distillery and their team to Frankfort today as we celebrate their expansion in the Commonwealth. I touched on this a couple weeks ago as we announced Augusta Distillery's new operation in Bracken County that will include a $23 million investment and create 14 quality jobs. They're going to put food on the table for 14 Kentucky families. This is an especially exciting announcement as it will be Augusta Distillery's first full-scale operation in the Commonwealth. It's also worth noting that the project will locate in an existing 40,000 square foot historic building in Augusta that housed the production of metal parts and hardware for the automotive industry from 1883 until 2007. This investment is an incredible opportunity to build on the legacy of this location's past while serving another key sector for the Commonwealth. Construction is anticipated to begin this summer, with the facility operational by the summer of 2024. This is an extremely exciting time to be doing business in Kentucky. And we are thrilled to welcome Augusta Distillery's growth in our thriving bourbon and spirits industry. We got a whole crew from Augusta Distillery today. Welcome to the Capitol. We are so excited to have you, excited that we can show what's going to be your first product. And I'd like to welcome Ryan Edwards, founder and board member of Augusta Distillery, to share a few words. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Governor. So happy to be here today. And on behalf of my partners with me in the back of the room, excited to announce that Augusta Distillery has chosen to create its first full-scale distillery operation in Augusta, Kentucky. For anyone that hasn't ever had the benefit of visiting Augusta, it's a beautiful little town located, very picturesque, exactly what you would think of historic Kentucky, located right on the banks of the Ohio. It's interesting to note, it's not for debate, but bourbon was founded on the banks of the Ohio in Eastern Kentucky. Within town, we have already acquired a 40,000 square foot facility located on 1.8 acres. It is a historic building built in 1883. It was auto parts, but before auto parts, it was actually for horse carriages and carriage parts. So it's been around for a long time. We're excited to renovate that building. Within there, we are going to create a world-class distillery experience for both our guests and for producing high-quality, traditional Kentucky bourbon. Over the life of the project, we will commit $23 million to accomplishing this task. To create the facility, it's important to note that we'll be using Kentucky equipment manufacturers, local engineers, local labor. Upon completion, we also plan to use Kentucky corn as the backbone of our product. Our hope is that by delighting our customers through this investment, we will spark and spike local tourism. A side effect of that, we hope, is other economic opportunities for not just ourselves, but our neighbors in the city of Augusta and Bracken County. None of this, it's really important to note, none of this would have been possible without recent legislation efforts from the local administration that have further strengthened the local craft bourbon distillery movement that is sweeping across the Commonwealth. It is not by accident that we all like to tout the fact that 95% of the world's bourbon is produced in Kentucky, but it's even more important to note that 100% of bourbon worth drinking is produced here. So it is very exciting for myself, my team, and our neighbors to be here today. Our ultimate goal is to produce an authentic, curated bourbon experience in Augusta. I would like to thank the Commonwealth, the city of Augusta, Bracken County, and the governor for whose support, if we didn't have that, this project could not become a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Very exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you to Ryan and Augusta Distillery. I like to say that that statistic of 95% of the world's bourbon's made in Kentucky, and the other 5% is counterfeit. So thank you all so much. Next, we have Legacy Metals. Legacy Metals is a building materials supplier and manufacturer that is going to be growing its current operation in Hopkinsville with a 24,000 square foot expansion. This investment is going to create 100 new full-time jobs for residents in Christian County and the surrounding counties, which means that this is, of course, in the general area where those tornadoes hit. Thankfully, Hopkinsville spared, though if you remember, had another tornado just weeks after that thankfully didn't cause any loss of life, but certainly a little bit of property damage. This expansion, Legacy Metals, will include a new 12,000 square foot facility that's going to house 2 manufacturing lines, as well as a separate 12,000 square foot warehouse to provide room for inventory and further storage. I'm extremely pleased to see Legacy Metals adding to the state's red-hot growth in metals production. Metals is one of the areas where we see clusters forming in Kentucky, where we are far outperforming the rest of the country. So in 2021 alone, Kentucky's metals industry spurred $975 million in planned investments and more than 1,700 expected new jobs for Kentucky residents. This type of momentum does not happen by accident. It's a direct result of companies such as Legacy Metals investing and reinvesting in this state and in their communities. I want to thank Legacy Metals leadership and all those involved in this project. I'm excited to see their progress here in the Commonwealth. We also have a company committed to sustainability that's made its home in Kentucky for more than 3 decades. On Tuesday, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman joined local leaders and representatives from Lexmark to break ground on a solar panel array at the company's headquarters in Lexington. This project has been in a long line of making, this project has took a while. It has been a long time in the making, years of coordinated effort, but has come to fruition through the company, local and state leaders, including the Energy and Environment Cabinet. Lexmark's $4 million investment will establish a 10-acre, 2-megawatt solar panel array, which will generate over 225,000 kilowatt hours per month. This will offset approximately 10% of the site's energy use once completed at the end of the year. The investment is also going to revitalize what was a brownfield area to be used as an educational green space. This will include walking trails, a wildlife habitat, a butterfly garden, and a planting area for pollinator flowers. Better still, the operation will produce power generation analytics to be displayed at Lexmark's Customer Engagement Center, and that's going to build on the company's support of STEM education opportunities that can be taken advantage of by local schools. I want to thank the many individuals who helped bring this project together. I look forward to seeing all the other ways that Lexmark will continue to lead. And finally, we have Ethos Laboratories, a pain diagnostic lab expanding in northern Kentucky with a $2.2 million investment. This is another example of a Kentucky company that's already been doing good things for our state. So during the height of the COVID pandemic, the company pivoted and actually produced PCR testing for a number of organizations, including schools and higher ed institutions, first responders, and long-term care facilities. Now, the company is investing in its Newport headquarters to expand and upgrade equipment to produce more accurate data for pain management providers. The upgrades are already being implemented this month. Ethos was founded in 2010 and has been based in Campbell County for 9 years. The company also maintains Ethos Research and Development in Newport. So thank you to the leaders in Ethos who are committed to their existing workforce, the Northern Kentucky community, and the Commonwealth. I look forward to seeing their growth as well. All right. Next, I want to talk about an issue that has been talked about for years. But this session, like the last one and many before it, the General Assembly did not get the job done despite broad support from the public. I'm talking about access to medical cannabis. Over the past several years, I have been not only talking about, but strongly supporting this issue. And it is strongly supported by the vast majority of Kentuckians. Its time has come, and it can give some ailing Kentuckians relief. For those suffering from Alzheimer's, ALS, cancer, severe and chronic pain, epilepsy and seizures, PTSD, and many other conditions, those are conditions in many other states where they can work with a healthcare provider to gain access to medical cannabis to help treat their symptoms if it's right for them. Medical cannabis is a popular treatment, often referred to as an alternative to highly addictive opioids that are still prescribed far too often to deal with individuals' pain. In fact, as of February 2022, a total of 37 states, as well as DC, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands regulate cannabis for medical use by qualified individuals. If you look, the majority of the Midwestern states have some type of regulated cannabis program. Those include Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. When you look at southern states like Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, they're allowing treatment for their residents. Yeah, we are actually behind Mississippi this time. We can't make that joke. Mississippi was actually the latest state to permit the use, and their state legislature had the courage that ours did not to do so this February. And our neighboring states of Virginia and West Virginia also have access to regulated cannabis. It has passed the House the last several years. Yet, this year in the Senate, it died. It never even got a vote in committee. So, people are ready. And given where we are, and with so many supporting moving forward on cannabis, including many in our House of Representatives, today I'm announcing 4 steps that set out a process we're going to be engaged in over the next several months. Most of these steps are about hearing from you, the public, so that your voice is heard by the executive branch, even if it's ignored by the legislative branch. By now, people of Kentucky know that I take series of steps as we move forward and gather information and work to build consensus before culminating ultimately in action. So over the next several months, here are 4 steps that we're taking. First, as I've alluded to before, I've asked my general counsel and his team to begin analyzing options that we may have under the law for executive action on medical cannabis. That's going to be some in-depth research and analysis that is going to provide, at least to me, a framework of potential options. Second, I'm establishing the Governor's Medical Cannabis Advisory Team, and we'll be putting out what we're looking for in membership of that. We want to make sure that, and I want to make sure that I'm getting advice from all corners of Kentucky and that we can hear directly people's stories, people's experience, the need that is out there. And as we look at potential executive action, that we are ensuring that we have the information to do it effectively. Third, once the advisory team has been formed, they're going to want to hear from you. We're going to have them travel around the state and listen in every corner of Kentucky for what you have to say about medical cannabis. We'll be determining a schedule once the group is comprised, but initially we aim at making at least 4 stops. And folks, it is important for the public to be able to not only weigh in, but show this entire state how strongly the public supports taking a step in this direction. And finally, we've established a way for every Kentuckian to communicate with my office specifically on this topic. If you are a Kentuckian, you deserve to have your voice heard and amplified. If you feel that you want to weigh in on medical cannabis, but don't know that if you'll be able to make a meeting, or want to go ahead and provide your thoughts on the why, or what conditions, or things that you've been going through, or things you'd like to see, you can see the email that we have set up. You can send it to our team directly at GOV Medical Cannabis Advisory Team at ky.gov. These are 4 steps in a process about moving forward to make sure that the people of Kentucky are included, that your voice is heard, and that we can take your desires, your advice, your thoughts as we consider the legal frameworks for executive action. So for all those who have advocated over the years, from our veterans who are suffering from chronic pain or PTSD, to mothers who are seeking help for children suffering from seizures, I want you to know that we not only hear you, we want to hear directly from you. The time has certainly come, and today, again, we're setting up a framework and a process for moving forward that we're putting in place so that we can understand where everybody is coming from, where we can ensure that nothing is overlooked in our analysis, and we want your feedback. I want to be clear. I am for medical cannabis. I want it done in the right way. And we're going to be looking at our legal options very closely. And at the same time, we want to hear from you. I know the Kentucky public overwhelmingly supports this, but I don't want to take for granted that the reason that you do is one that we fully know. And certainly it's something that we need to hear. In every action I've taken, I've always wanted to be effective, to get a job done, and to make sure that we have what we need. I want to make sure we hear from you in these multiple ways. Finally, this week's Team Kentucky All-Stars are the teams at the Kentucky State Police, who, along with the Wolfe County Search and Rescue and Red Star Wilderness EMS, use a state police helicopter to perform a first-of-its-kind rescue in the Red River Gorge on Tuesday. So around 10:30 Monday night on April 18th, a 911 call came in about a pair of canoers who were overdue in the gorge. I think that's the audio of that helicopter. I'll keep moving as it comes up. Conditions were tough, with below freezing temperatures and heavy precipitation. By working together, the emergency personnel teams eventually located the couple mid-morning Tuesday in some of the most rugged terrain that the gorge region has to offer. The state police had just installed a hoist on their aircraft a few months ago. So this was a brand new program for KSP and their first mission of its type, which we are proud to report was a success. 2 specially trained Red Star paramedics joined KSP troopers aboard the aircraft, and from approximately 200 feet above the Red River, they located the couple. Along with the specially trained KSP trooper, the couple was safely hoisted back up to the aircraft and flown to an awaiting ambulance. Rescue crews say the couple survived by staying as dry as possible. They built an insulated shelter from leaves and camping along a cliff line. Today, I'm honored to recognize this commendable public service. This mission and the rescue, first of its kind, is extraordinary, and this couple is alive today because of the innovation, cooperation of law enforcement agencies that have shown the true Team Kentucky spirit by working together with one goal in mind, like they do every day, to protect and serve all Kentuckians during the emergency. Thank you to every person who made this rescue possible. They're all Team Kentucky All-Stars, including just a few. The hoist operator is KSP Sergeant Jason Denny, the rescue specialist, KSP Trooper Todd Coleman, pilots, Captain Brad Austin, who I know well, Trooper David Long, Trooper Zach Lusk, KSP pilot Kerry Sawyers, KSP pilot Ken Abbott, and David Pfeiffer, paramedic rescue specialist, who was lowered to the patient. Coordinator of Red Star is David Pfeiffer. He's Powell County EMS Wilderness Response Unit. Also, Jeremy Urecki, paramedic aboard the helicopter, and Mike Hackett, nurse rescue specialist, who assisted in the mission. He's also a member of the Wolfe County SAR, who we got to honor just about a month ago when they won a Land Rover competition. So great job to all of them. They are our Team Kentucky All-Stars. And while I accidentally placed this at the end, just a note on COVID. Cases were up just a little bit this last week compared to the previous one, but a very small amount. Now, positivity rate was up too, and it was the second straight week we've seen it up. But let's go to the hospitalization chart. While leveling out incredibly low, this is a very good sign that when we factor in all the additional things that we are looking at now, especially hospitalizations, with the variants no longer being as deadly as Delta or even the original version, hospitalizations still as low as they were last summer, an incredibly good place. Now look at ICU usage, even better. Maybe the best it's been since the pandemic really took hold. And ICU ventilators for COVID patients, again, even lower than they were last summer. So we're going to keep taking a look at where the numbers of cases and positivity are, but not concerned because of where these graphs are, which is in such a good place. All right, with that, we will open it up to questions. We'll start with Carolina.
Governor, aren't you concerned that any potential executive action on medical marijuana would just be a temporary fix here in Kentucky? Don't we need a more permanent solution?
Well, there's executive action that has been permanent or has certainly lasted. The expansion of Medicaid happened through executive action and continues through executive action. That has provided health care to over 500,000 Kentuckians, and thank God we had it in place when COVID hit. And there are a lot of other pieces that are out there that, again, were accomplished and continue in effect through executive action. Now, would I prefer that the legislature had passed it? Yes, but they didn't. And if they are not going to take action, not even give it a committee hearing in the Senate, I believe it's my obligation to see what's possible given the will of the people and their desire to move forward on this. I mean, we're behind Mississippi. And that's something that we can't be okay with. And it's time to certainly move the conversation forward and to look at what action, whether temporary or not. If we take action and then the legislature comes in and ultimately will pass something, that's great too. In the end, I just want to make sure our veterans, some of our seniors that have the need, children with seizures, get the help that they need. Tom.
Thank you, Governor. On this advisory team that you're going to be naming, in addition to, obviously, you're going to have people who are advocates for this, we also have some that are perhaps not as excited about it, just for balance.
We're going to try to find the best people who can give us the best information and then also help us in concept of regulatory framework. Because it's not just enough to say we're for it and to put together a group that's for it. The framework that is put together has to be effective. It has to ensure that prescriptions are for a medical reason, have to ensure that it's not diverted onto the black market. And being the former top law enforcement official in the Commonwealth, serving as Attorney General, I think we're in a unique position to try to put together not only the right advisory team, but to be focused on each one of those pieces. This is not something that you want to see feed the black market. In fact, I think it does the exact opposite by bringing this into a regulated framework.
A follow-up?
Sure.
Could Jason Demas perhaps be on
We haven't fully considered it yet. That would take a conversation first. Chelsea, do we have Chelsea? Okay, Mark.
I talked to someone who said that it would be against the law for an executive order to basically legalize medicinal marijuana. Can you give us the layman's argument for how you're able to do this?
Well, we're looking through our legal options right now. If someone has just told you carte blanche, it's against the law, then they haven't done the full analysis, as we are looking at what different options there are out there. Now, obviously, when we take action, if they disagree, we could see what we always see. But if we're moving forward and somebody else is trying to pull us back, now I believe that we are on the right side of not only this issue, but we are on the right side of helping those veterans, those children, those seniors, those in chronic pain.
But you've got a general idea that it's probably a possibility. Can you just sort of walk us through how an executive order could set aside a criminal law?
Well, again, we're looking at all of our legal options right now. Certainly, there is the criminal piece of it, but there are a number of potential options there, from looking at the state of our opioid epidemic to other significant issues that we face. Also looking at some of our regulations and laws on the medical side itself. So again, we're not there yet. And my goal is to look at the full menu of options that can be out there. Joe.
Have there been any sort of examples of executive action specifically on marijuana laws that you can look at as far as an example of why you think this might be possible for you to do?
Well, we've been a state that's taken executive action on a number of areas that other states haven't beyond this, because we don't have the proposition framework, being able to put individuals or the population writ large being able to put issues on the ballot. So most states that have legalized either did it, medicinal marijuana, through their legislature, or even more, have ballot initiatives. The fact that Kentucky doesn't mean that some areas that have been set up because of ballot initiatives, Medicaid expansion is one. It's occurred in a number of states because of that. We looked at executive action, but I don't have a specific state that has had to look at the route that we are. We have states all around us that their legislature either did the job or their people have the power that sadly our people do not here in Kentucky. Stan Ingold from WEKU. Working on Stan. Is he on?
I don't see anything coming.
All right, let's try Debbie Yetter, and then we'll go back if he's on.
Thank you. I wondered, given the COVID state of COVID in Kentucky right now and the relatively low numbers, do you have any thoughts about what kind of shape we're in to host the Kentucky Derby this year and all the attendant events? And also, do you plan to go?
I will be at the Kentucky Derby. I look forward to it. And we are in the best shape that we have been since the start of the pandemic, with all factors considered, to host the Kentucky Derby. And how exciting is that? I mean, we expect a record crowd, and to have that record crowd occurring at a time where we have the fewest people in the hospital since, again, we got decent ways into the pandemic, is exciting. It's also a blessing that we're going to have this event at this time. So very excited. I will be there, and we, again, are going to be joined by hundreds of thousands of all of our closest friends from across the United States and across the world. It's that time when the whole country and the whole world looks to Kentucky, and what a special time with everything we have going on right now. We've talked about how people are taking a second or a different look at Kentucky with all the companies that have been investing. This is just going to be another opportunity to show what Team Kentucky is all about. Christian Hauser, WKRC.
Hey, sir, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Given that you will have a very tough fight for re-election in a year and a half, Is executive action the right way to go with this? You've still got the GOP leadership in the Senate that basically says that no to medical cannabis. I guess what's the thinking behind this other than just getting the conversation started?
I believe in doing the right thing. If I made my decisions about what we do when we're called upon to do it based on reelection, you probably would have seen different decisions over the last couple years. And I believe right is right and wrong is wrong. And again, that's how we threw politics out the window a long time ago. I'm worried about the veteran who deserves to have the same access in Kentucky as he or she does in another state. If you meet a parent who can't stop their child from having seizures yet, they've been to another state and this works, they ought to have the opportunity to help that child. To me, this is just about doing the right thing, and it's about serving the will of the people of Kentucky. I believe medical cannabis is overwhelmingly popular, but also demanded by the people of Kentucky. And I'm trying to do my role as a public servant in what we push ahead with. Jessica Payne, Murray, Ledger, and Times.
Thank you, Governor. I was wondering if you could share what your thoughts are on legalization of recreational marijuana.
Well, I believe that it's time for medicinal marijuana. I think that many states and many who've done this the right way certainly took the medicinal step first. That's what I'm certainly in favor on the medicinal side. Now, on recreational, while I'm not advocating we take that step at the moment, we do need to look at the decriminalization aspect. Very few arrests are currently made on possession. You got to work pretty hard to get arrested for possession of marijuana right now. But you know, given that, it's important that, especially if we take this medicinal step, that we look at that side too. You know, nobody needs to go to jail, ultimately causing them loss of job, being apart from their family for possession of marijuana. And it is very rare that happens right now, but the fact that it continues to happen, I think, shows that we're more than a little outdated on that side. Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. I have a three-part question. And what's framed to get it done? And the third one is, have you invited lawmakers in the House and Senate to work with you on this effort? You know, as you well know, the executive order to get Medicaid expansion done was very divisive in our state. And you know, is there any efforts to work together on this?
Let me first talk about the executive order on Medicaid. It may be divisive, but tens of thousands of people are alive because of it. Rural hospitals are still here because of it. It may be divisive in the sense that some people didn't like that it happened, but it's not divisive in it being the right thing to do to provide access out there. And that's the reason that it's never been undone. Healthcare is an issue of life and death. It is a basic human right. And if you talk to people about what happens to their hospital without Medicaid and expanded Medicaid, I think you'll hear significant support from it. I got two parts of that. Number one, time frame. Certainly the 4 steps that we've talked about, we're going to be working through over the next month and a half to 2 months. It's important that everybody is able to express their opinion if they so choose, that we get the advisory team in place. We're not going to act like we know everything. We do not, and thus we want that input and to really be able to think through once we see what our legal options are, what could be the most effective steps that we take. We just announced these steps today, so we certainly hope that lawmakers will be a part of it. We hope that they will not obstruct what the vast majority of Kentuckians want and what many suffering from chronic pain, PTSD, and other issues need. Again, this issue's time has come. I think it's pretty clear where everybody falls on it. I believe if it had been given a committee vote, depending on the committee, it would have passed. If it would have been brought to the floor, it would have passed. You know, it's time that a couple of individuals that are out of touch with the vast majority of Kentuckians on this issue stop obstructing it, and we're able to move forward. So again, I've set out a process. There's going to be plenty of time, and I'm sure right after this, you'll hear from others on what they think or where they stand. But the collection of the information and for people's voices to be heard, not shut out in a committee room, actually not even called into a committee room. This is a chance for Kentuckians all across the Commonwealth to be able to state very loudly what they expect from their Commonwealth and the need that is out there. But I finally add that it's got to be done right. And I believe that we have an opportunity to set up the right regulatory framework where we don't see abuse. And this gives us a chance over the next couple months to be thoughtful, but we will be looking at action and a culmination into some form of action depending on our legal options, you know, at the end of that time frame. Now, things could arise that we have to take a closer look at, and we could learn more. Things could change in other states, but right now that's the overall time frame that we're looking at. All right. Thank you, everybody. We've got a busy rest of the day. We'll be back next week, 12:30 for our Team Kentucky update.